So today I'm going to be analysing the poem Die wêreld het so klein geword. Now this is a poem about three generations, the mother, daughter and grandmother, and it basically highlights the advantages and disadvantages that technology has given to each of the generations and how it has changed how they live. So I'm just going to talk in English most of the time just to make sure that you understand what I'm saying, but there is the Afrikaans translation on the page which you will need to learn for your tests, and there's also English in case you don't get what I'm saying. So first of all, we're going to look at the words that describe the living space that the three generations grew up in. So the grandmother lived in a house with a massive field, so almost like a farm, and that's wêreld. Then the ma lived in a erf, which is a bit smaller than that. And then the daughter lives in basically her 12-meter room. She doesn't necessarily have a garden. And then it says, when it gets to her paragraph, it says gum tree is her boom. So the only tree and garden type thing that she has is gum tree. It's not actually a physical tree, but a cyber one. And then also important keywords with the mom, it says there she has a grasperk and twee bome, so she has some sort of a garden with two trees. Then it's also important to note that each paragraph describes a different generation. So the first one that we'll read is the grandmother, the second one is the mom, and the third one is the daughter. Now we're going to look at the type of technology that they used. So we can see that the Oma used a phone, and what they mean by that, it says they twee kortes en drie langes lei, which means that it had a cord, it had a dial, it was one of those house phones that is attached to the wall, and we don't have them anymore. Then in the mom's generation, the telephone was invented, the one that you could hold with your hand. And then now the teenager, which is the daughter, has a cell phone. And by a cell phone, they basically mean a smartphone, like an iPhone. Then we're going to look at how the grandmother, mother, and daughter learned. So it says in the third line, the grandmother lees boeke en hulle soek na kennis. So the grandmother reads actual books in search of information and knowledge. But then the daughter uses the internet for information, which is basically what we're all doing now with like online schooling and Google Classroom. So it's really important to acknowledge the fact that the grandmother and the daughter are talking about two different books in each of their stanzas. So the grandma is talking about a physical book that she reads to get information, but then the daughter is talking about a Facebook. So in the second line of the third stanza, it says, Ek is deel van 'n boek waar mense hulle gesigte gedeeltelik, which means that she's part of a book where people show their faces, which is Facebook. So the grandmother's one is a very old-fashioned physical book, and the daughter's one is, her book is invaded by and taken over by technology. So if we look at the structure of the poem, we can see that the first paragraph is pretty big, the second one is also pretty big, and the lines are long. But then with the third paragraph, the lines get shorter and shorter and shorter until there's only one word in the last line. So this is very effective because it's trying to convey the message that although technology and the internet can be a great thing because it actually makes our cyber worlds a lot larger, because we can be in our rooms but we can be connecting with anybody around the world. It actually also has many disadvantages because it makes our physical worlds a lot smaller, which is what we see happening with the gran and the daughter. So the gran, it says that she spends lots of time with her friends, she goes out to get books, she has open fields that she plays in. But then the daughter's basically confined to her room because within her room, as long as she has the internet, she basically has everything that she needs. She doesn't have to go out to see her friends because she can talk to them on her phone. She doesn't need to go to school because she can do that online. And because of this, she doesn't have the kind of relationship that her gran had with her friends because she doesn't see her friends physically. Everything is on the internet. So they are very... Well, they don't have to be fake or superficial, but some of her friends that she has on her internet might not even be people that she's ever met. So in the last line, we could see that the last word is in. Now, this word is standing by itself and it means in because it's trying to say that this is how the speaker feels. She feels like she's standing by herself and she's alone. So in the second paragraph, we can see in the second last line, it says, Ek klik met 'n mes die wêreld tot in my huis. So she's saying that she can click with her mouse the world in her house, which means that she could see the world from her home just by going on her laptop and clicking her mouse. So this onomatopoeia is very effective because it shows how fast everything happens due to technology. Because in the past, if you wanted to see things or find out information, you'd have to talk to people and read books. Now we can just look it up on the internet. So now we're just going to do some language. There is Mason Hayes that you need to look at, and that is assonantie, which is the repetition of like vowel sounds. Then there's verb en werk, which is alliteratie, which is the repetition of consonants at the beginning of a word. Then I spoke about the verskillende bome before. Obviously, the Oma has an actual tree in her garden, and the daughter has a cyber tree, which is gum tree. Then you need to know what voordeel and nadeel means. So voordeel is advantage. So the advantages of technology is that alles is blitsvinnig, which is everything is very fast, which we saw when they said click. You can just click your mouse and you can have access to all the knowledge that you want and talk to anybody that you want. En jy kan met mense oral oor die wêreld praat, so you could talk to anybody around the world. Then the disadvantage is that you don't have, well, it can stop you from having as many physical relationships. Therefore, they may be pretty shallow or fake. You'll feel very alone, like the speaker in this poem, and you won't spend time outside, so you won't enjoy nature.